All right, so it is the top of the hour. It is a sunny day here in Omaha, Nebraska, 10 a.m. Central Time, Tuesday, October 19th. So thank you for those that have dialed in. Thank you for joining us for this Tuesday talk. Just for quick introductions, my name is Jen Chaney. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development for Right at Home. I'll have Kelli introduce herself here in just a minute. But for those of you that are attending live, thank you for joining us. You do have the ability to ask a question anytime during the course of the next glorious 30 minutes. So if you hover near the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A button. Click on that and you can type in a question, okay? So I will be watching that question box. Feel free, don't be shy. We love questions. I think the conversation flows much easier when there's lots of questions. We've got a lot to cover, but we love questions. If I say anything, if Kelli says anything where you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. Okay, so the topic for today's Tuesday talk, we're going to talk about that window of time for brand new owners. Once they join the system, from the time they sign their franchise agreement, they pay their franchise fee, they're officially a franchise owner, to the time that their doors are open for business. Kind of that gray area, that time zone, what happens and who supports me? What's everything that we do? Kelli is the main person in charge of all of that. Kelli, take it away. I'm going to have you introduce yourself, your title, your role, and just a brief description of what you do here at Right at Home.
Thanks, Jen. My name is Kelli Oerman, and I'm the RightStart manager. I've been with Right at Home for 4 years, and my job is to help you open your doors successfully and as quickly as possible. And so I just guide you through our RightStart process and just hold your hand through all the milestones so you can open for business and serve your community.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I kind of want to break this down into a few different stages just to keep it as simple as possible. For our listeners, very high level. I don't want you to go into great detail about all the things that you teach and, support and all those things. Just a kind of a high level, step by step. I know that there are a lot of, not necessarily fears, I suppose you could call them fears, but, franchise owners who join our system brand new, this is their maiden voyage. They've never done this before. So there's a lot of like, gosh, I just don't know what to expect. I don't know, how to, there are certain things that I'm just not going to know how to do. But of course, that's one of the benefits of franchising and why they've purchased a Right at Home franchise. And I can see the attendee list. We do have some new listeners joining us today.
Wonderful.
Some new owners joining us today. But why don't we start with, right after someone has signed their franchise agreement, pay their franchise fee, they're officially a franchise owner. Let's start there. So what's like the very, very first step, once somebody has become a franchise owner? And let's kind of break it down between, if you can talk about, from that point to when training begins, kind of some of the things that you cover in that first phase, if you will.
You bet. Well, I love your analogy, and I'd like to say that I'm your navigator through this process. And so once you have signed, I will reach out and call you, welcome you to Right at Home, and we will get to work. So there are several things that we want to do just to make sure you have a great experience when you come to training and throughout the process. So we'll get together and go over the project plan. So there are many different steps that we'll take together along that voyage, along that journey. So we'll take a look at your market and do a market analysis, and we'll talk through licensure according to your state requirements. That's an important piece as well. We'll talk about, where's the best place to be located? Where should my office be and why? And you'll start the process of going on that search. We'll talk through, what type of systems am I going to be required as an owner to have in place? And what's the timeline for getting those in place? So you'll have a really clear understanding, even before you come to training, of the different milestones that you'll need to hit in order to open your doors. That's a high level overview.
Got it. Okay, well, I have a couple of questions from a couple of things that you said. So regarding licensure, just for those listening, and by the way, a lot of people listen to these Tuesday talks on a recorded basis. So for those listening, live, or those listening on a recorded basis, just know that there are some states that aren't licensure states. There isn't a specific license that you need to apply for to be a right-at-home owner, but there are some states that are. And by the way, Kelli is your support person for this window of time, along with your performance coach, which each franchise owner will have. But then we have no less than probably, Kelli, 80 to 85 different subject matter experts. So there are times where Kelli's going to be like, hey, when we're talking about licensure, we're going to have Doug join us. Doug is our licensure specialist. He's right here on staff, and that is his job, to help franchise owners with that licensure process, along with Kelli's support and the support of your coach. And the best way to kind of explain this is that your coach and Kelli, they're not going to do all of these things for you as a brand new owner. Their job is just to simply help you and support you. And if they don't know the answer, I promise you there's a subject matter expert that will help you and support you through that process. And licensure is certainly one of them.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jen. Really, when you take a look at our business, it's about supply, demand, operations, and quality. And to Jen's point, we do have subject matter experts in all those areas. And so I will be pulling in people as we go through the process. So just think of me as your guide, your navigator, and we'll just go through this journey together with the experts.
Yes. Yep. So, and I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelli, finding or getting started on finding an office, and for sure licensure, because licensure, some states, that you need to get started on that right away because the clock needs to get ticking. Some states take a while to respond. So that's something that you're going to want to cover right away, as well as getting started on finding that office location. You can't own a right-at-home business without having some type of an office.
That's
right. So that's something that you help with right out of the gate. So those are probably the two things. Finding an office and licensure are the two main things, of course, with a lot of other things that you're going to help franchise owners with before they begin training. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk a little bit about kind of that next phase, which is training. So the training that we have to support new franchise owners, it's a 6 to 8 week session. A lot of that is self-led via Zoom, instructor-led via Zoom, and then like kind of self-led, where you do a lot of research on your own. But a total of 6 to 8 weeks. There is 1 week in there we call our residence week. So can you kind of talk a little bit, Kelli, about that residence week? So residence week is when you guys actually come to Omaha, Nebraska for an entire week where you learn a lot of things. After that it's a shadowing. I don't know if we have a specific name for it, but we do send new owners or future owners to shadow a franchise owner the week after residence week. So kind of talk a little bit about residence week, some of the things that you cover, even if you want to cover like, hey, here are a few things we cover right before residence week, during residence week, and then a little bit after that residence week.
Yeah, you bet. So the great thing about your virtual training before you come to residence week is that's going to give you foundational knowledge in the home care industry. So you'll have that by the time you come to residence week. So during that time, we can really jump into the material more. So how do you recruit caregivers? How do you hire for your office staff? What is it like to market online? What is it like to go into a potential client's home and do an intake and give lend your expertise to their situation? So they have a need that you're fulfilling, and how are you going to meet that need and gain that client? So all these different pieces of the business will be taking a deeper dive look into those spaces. So again, with supply and demand, you're supplying caregivers. Your demand are the clients, the people that need your services. Okay. So we really jump into those areas more.
Okay, got it. And I actually have a question. Go ahead, Kelli.
One more thing, I was just going to say, for our in-market visit, which is right after Residence Week, is amazing. We get so much wonderful feedback after you've learned all this information, right? A little bit of information overload, I'll tell you. Then you get to go see it applied in market at one of the neighboring offices. And you just learn so much more.
Mm-hmm. And we specifically put that in place based off of the feedback received from our franchise owners on a way that we could just further improve our training. And I'm very proud of the training that we do provide to our future owners, because it's so great to have classroom-led content that is taught and learned in a classroom setting, with an instructor. You've got, other people that are learning alongside you. But then you actually go to the in-market visit. That was the name that I was looking for. I also refer to it as shadowing a franchise owner. But then you actually go and you shadow a franchise owner, and you're like, oh, I learned that last week. Now I'm seeing it in action. So it's a great way for these new owners who haven't opened their business yet, who haven't opened their office yet. Instead of them doing that live, once their business has opened, like, okay, I remember this from training, think this is how it's done. It's so great in that in-market visit to be like, I'm seeing this and I understand how this is done, and I'm seeing it in action now. I learned this last week. It's just invaluable, you guys, for those of you who are getting ready to head to training.
And it's a 3-day visit.
Yes.
3 days.
3 glorious days. Yep. And our franchise owners, these franchise owners, we actually have been through a little bit of training themselves on, okay, so you have been chosen to be, a certified office for trainees. So these franchise owners actually have a full list of things we want to make sure that they cover with our new owners. So it's not just like, okay, so I hear you're coming on Monday. We're just going to kind of play it by ear. They have a specific agenda that they're supposed to be covering with these new owners. We actually have 2 questions that came in. So I'll read the first one here, Kelly. Can you share some examples of the other subject matter experts or departments at the corporate office that we'll have access to?
Absolutely. One of my favorite departments is our employee experience team. So they're all about teaching you how to create that culture within your office and for your caregivers, so that you can be the #1 employer of choice in your market. So you'll get to meet the employee experience team. You'll get to work with the franchise development team as far as understanding the market for strategic growth partners. Mm-hmm. We have several partners that will be beneficial to you as you learn who your referral sources are, and how to share your services within a network. Mm-hmm. So you'll have a lot of opportunity there. We've got a risk management team. So they're all about how can you protect yourself and your employees in this business. Gosh, there's so many different pieces to this. We've got our client experience team, and they're going to share all about how to make that connection with your clients and provide an excellent experience for them as well.
Okay, got it. And we got another question, and perhaps this the listener can elaborate a little bit further. I'm not sure I quite understand the question. The question is, are these going to be different owners? So I believe what this question means is, for the in-market visits, each one of our new owners, let's pretend that we've got 4 new owners that are attending training during Residence Week. The next week is the in-market visit. Those 4 different owners are going to be going to 4 different office locations.
Correct.
We're not going to be matching all 4 owners at one franchisee's office. So if that answers your question, whoever typed that question, let me know if there was a different thing that you meant by, are these going to be different owners? Do you have anything to add, Kelly?
Yeah, what we want to do is really get allow you to have an experience with an owner that's very close to you, close to your territory. because every market's slightly different. And so that experience will be more valuable to you if it's someone in your region.
Okay. Got it. All right. So you guys let me know if you have any other questions. And the listener said yes, that answered our question. So awesome. If you guys have any other questions regarding training, let us know. But we are going to move on to kind of that next phase. And actually, I did have a question to something that you mentioned earlier, Kelli. So you said, hiring caregivers. And I know this is feedback that I received from a future new owner that was getting ready to open their office. And they asked, how do I overcome that challenge? Or Kelli, perhaps you can elaborate on how you would help support or guide a franchise owner through this. How do franchise owners hire those initial caregivers when they don't have any clients yet? Their office hasn't opened yet. I don't have any clients. I don't have any people that have signed up for services. How do you hire those caregivers? And how does that work? And maybe you can even talk about, you as a new owner, you're required to have 2 full-time people, you in addition to one other, office staff person. How do you hire that office staff person? And what is their role and the different, roles in the office? I realize I just asked you like 5 different questions. I don't know.
That's all right.
We kept track of all of those, but just kind of talk about that a little bit.
You bet. So I'm going to start with that first full-time staff person that you'll hire, because you'll want to bring them on board 3 to 4 weeks before you open, and they will help you prepare to hire caregivers. So one thing to keep in mind is you as an owner need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then you want to hire someone who will work well with you. So we'll really go through all the different roles within an office so you have a clear understanding of what needs to happen so that you can hire the right person. And I always say this person wears many hats, right? So you really want someone who is flexible, who has an entrepreneurial spirit like yourself. And so those are some things to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to hiring caregivers, you always want to have your bench full. So a challenge I hear from new owners is, I don't have any clients yet because I just opened and I'm afraid to hire a caregiver because I don't have any hours yet. And what you need what an owner learns is that the phone can ring 10 minutes later and you could actually have 3 shifts you need to fill. So always be thinking this way. You constantly are hiring and recruiting, and you're constantly selling. So those caregivers, generally, they're already working at other agencies and have some experience. And so they go where the shifts are. So they already kind of understand that you may or may not have shifts available for them right away. But the key is to get them onboarded and ready to go, and be comfortable with the fact that they may not be there tomorrow, but that's okay because you're still hiring and recruiting.
Got it. Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. All right, we actually just got another question that came in. 2 questions. Oh my gosh, all sorts of activity here on the question board. Yep. So I'll read the first one. I was invited to attend the next Discovery Day, and I'm so excited. Will Kelli be part of Discovery Day? And will we be able to talk with her more after Discovery Day?
Absolutely. We will spend time together on Discovery Day. Ask me any questions you'd like. I'll be asking you questions as well. It's really a time to see if we're a great fit for each other.
Awesome. Okay. Hold on a second. This next one came in. Okay. From a hiring perspective, how much will you assist us with that? Can you elaborate how hiring works from a franchisor franchisee point of view? I think that relationship plays a role here. And I think it's important to kind of point out, yes, I mean, I can answer for you. The answer is yes. Kelli's going to help you with that. But we all know that there's this thing called joint employer. So we kind of have to walk that fine line between, we can't do it for you. Kelli's going to do her best. to help you and support you with that with joint employer in mind. So Kelli, I'm going to go ahead and let you answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple different things. We've got some great resources and tools when it comes to documents and processes that are employee facing, at lawyers, labor law attorneys have reviewed and created some documents that we offer to you when you're part of our system. So that's one piece. But the other piece is we have so many tools that we've put in place that we absolutely can help you with, as far as where do I recruit? How do I recruit? What are things that successful owners in our system are doing? It's working well, and we share those best practices with you so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have job descriptions and job postings and different systems that will help you in your hiring process.
Yes. And I want to elaborate more on something that you said. So it's not like, okay, here's what you need to do to hire these caregivers, and here's what I recommend. Go for it. It's not just that. I want to elaborate more a little bit on this toolkit. This is one thing that I heard feedback from a franchise owner that is huge, that Right at Home has done to help and support our franchise owners, is this toolkit that literally we have hired a law firm to put together these documents to help Right at Home owners with all of those legal documents, the hiring documents. What's everything and anything that you need to make sure that everything is in order, legally, to make sure that the hire is, done properly and all of those things. We have a massive toolkit where there are so many resources there for you at your fingertips. You don't have to go out there and search for them on your own. Everything is right there, customized for Right at Home franchise owners. Is that correct, Kelli?
Absolutely.
The awesome.
Yeah. And then so internally we have kind of the life cycle of a caregiver that you hire, and we have attracting tools, engaging tools, retaining tools to help you through the process. So even if you think about, how do I onboard a caregiver? What would my orientation look like? Well, we have examples of those for you. We make it easy for you to just plug and play.
Awesome. Okay, next question. They're coming in hot.
All right.
Okay, and on this, I pre-read this next question. We're both going to answer this one. I'm going to answer it from my perspective, and then you more so from the RightStart support perspective. So outside of the office visit, so I'm assuming they're referring to the in-office visit, post-training. Outside of the in-office visit, are there any other opportunities to engage with my future fellow franchise owners? Pick their brains, hear their best practices. So the way that I would answer that is yes, and Kelli's going to say yes as well. But you guys know, for those of you that are listening live and then on a recorded basis, if you're going through the education process with Chuck or Trevor, there's a point in the process called franchisee validation, where we encourage you to call existing franchise owners listed in Exhibit G of the FDD to pick their brains about being a Right at Home franchise owner. That happens right now during the education process that you listeners are in right now. We absolutely encourage that. We can't tell you any specific ones to call or not to call. Call any franchise owner that you wish. That happens during this process. But even after you have become a franchise owner, obviously there's that in-office visit, but there are multiple ways where you can connect with your neighbors that are, contiguous to your territory, neighbors that are in your state, franchise owners that are in your region, as well as franchise owners that are all over the United States. Multiple ways to do that. And I know Kelli will say we highly encourage that. And it's absolutely imperative to the success of your business that you touch base with other franchise owners and coordinate with them on best practices. That is ongoing for the rest of your career as a franchise owner. So Kelli, I'll have you answer in your own words.
Absolutely. So we have not only regional calls for owners, we have state calls monthly sometimes. Every region's a little different, but you have the opportunity to connect not only with your neighboring owners, but with the corporate team as well, so that we can support you in all those areas that you need support. We have a wonderful, wonderful conference once a year. It's called Home Improvement. And I will tell you, that is like the most amazing thing to get all of these owners. They even bring office staff and the corporate team together in one place to celebrate each other, to talk about what's going on in the industry, new things that we're releasing as well. And you have that's just a wonderful time to meet other owners in the system.
Yep. And there are other franchise concepts out there that I know for a fact franchise owners are like, the annual conference, I don't really go. It's really not important for me to attend. Here at Right at Home, our annual conference is awesome. And franchise owners are like, I absolutely would not miss it. It's just full of really awesome content. Not only that, but as Kelli mentioned, all of the franchise owners come together. It's a great opportunity for you to meet people all over the United States. 2 questions came in, and I have another question on my piece of paper here. We've got 4 minutes to spare, so we're going to fire through all of them here.
All right.
So regarding clients, will there also be someone who new owners can reach out to if they have specific client challenges? Whether that's billing or any type of, accident or something like that.
Absolutely. So, and you asked me this question earlier, but we have even more departments than I mentioned. So we have an excellent business technology team to help you with billing and payroll and different systems. And our client or quality experience team is going to help you with challenges that potentially could come up. And that involves also risk mitigation as well. Your business performance coach in your region is someone that I work very closely with as I help you through the RightStart process to open your doors. They are available to reach out to. I'm available to reach out to. We also have a sales team that you can reach out to. So yes, it's never ending. We have a lot of people here that are here to support you.
That's right. And then this is a question of mine that I know people will ask after the call. So you mentioned something about hiring that initial office staff, and perhaps you mentioned this and I missed it. I've had franchise owners that are like, as soon as they're a franchise owner, they're like, got to hire that office staff right away. Or, it's going to be a few months before your office opens. Do you recommend that they make those initial hires? At what time during this process? Is it, a week before their office opens? Is it 2 months before their office opens? What is the timing of those initial hires?
Yeah, great question, Jen. So after Residence Week, after the 5 phases of training, and you're back setting your office up, you and I will go through getting the job description and job posting for that full-time staff person. It's going to take time to do that, to put it out there and interview applicants, but you want to time it so that it's about a month before you open. And the reason that's important is that person is also going to be the face of your business. They're going to be the person generally that applicants and new employees will interact with, and they're going to help you get things set up and organized. So a month before is really what we recommend.
Perfect. Okay, final question. Just impeccable timing here. Where's the annual conference held? I can answer this one. So it's usually it's in person. Other than in a COVID world, we've been a little off over the course of the past year, but it's usually held every spring. Every other year we have it right here in Omaha, Nebraska. Although this spring it is going to be in actually Arizona. So we're very, very excited for that. So I'm assuming in 2023, it's going to be right here in Omaha. Okay. All right. It's 10:30, Kelli. Time flies when you're having fun.
It sure does.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kelli. Thank you, everyone who is listening live. For those of you listening, we hope you can join us live again in a couple of weeks, where we will be visiting with Brian Petronic, who is our CEO, and Margaret Haynes, who is our COO. We usually have these every other Tuesday, but we love participants. We love questions. So if you can join us again, that would be great. Kelli, thank you so much for your time this morning. This was an awesome conversation.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Goodbye.
Bye.